Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a kind but poor shoemaker. He lived in a tiny house with his wife and worked hard every day making shoes. But lately, business had been slow. He could barely make enough money to buy food, and the leather he had was running out. One evening, after finishing the last pair of shoes he had made, the shoemaker sighed. "I'll make one more pair tomorrow. Maybe things will get better soon." He went to bed feeling tired and worried. The next morning, when he entered his shop, he was shocked. On his workbench sat a beautiful pair of shoes, perfectly made, much better than anything he had ever made. The stitching was neat and the leather shone brightly. How did this happen? He wondered aloud. I didn't make these shoes. Just then, a customer came in. He looked at the shoes and exclaimed, "These are the finest shoes I've ever seen. I'll buy them right away." The shoemaker was amazed. With the money he earned from the sale, he was able to buy more leather. He decided to make another pair of shoes that night, hoping for more luck. That evening after dinner, he said to his wife, "I'll leave the leather out tonight and make the shoes tomorrow." They went to bed, not knowing what to expect. The next morning, to the shoemaker's surprise, he found another pair of shoes already finished. Again, the shoes were beautiful, and they sold for a good price. Every day, new shoes appeared on his workbench, perfectly made, and the shoemaker's shop began to do well. Curious, the shoemaker and his wife decided to stay awake one night to find out who was helping them. As the clock struck midnight, they saw something magical. 2 tiny elves appeared on the workbench. The little elves worked quickly, stitching and sewing with tiny hands, making shoes faster than the shoemaker ever could. They finished a pair of shoes in no time, then disappeared into the night. The shoemaker and his wife were amazed. "It's the elves," the wife said. "They're the ones who've been making the shoes." The next morning, the shoemaker had an idea. "We must thank the elves for their kindness," he said. So he and his wife worked together to make tiny clothes, little jackets and pants, small shoes and hats, all just the right size for the elves. That night, they placed the tiny clothes on the workbench with a note that said, "Thank you for helping us. We are so grateful." The following evening, when the elves arrived, they saw the tiny clothes. Their eyes grew wide with surprise and delight. They quickly put on the clothes and danced with joy. "Oh, thank you, the elves cheered. "These are perfect." From that night on, the elves continued to help the shoemaker, but now they wore their new clothes. They worked even harder, and the shoemaker's business grew. The shoemaker and his wife were no longer poor. They were able to live comfortably, and they never forgot the kindness of the little elves. Every year on the winter solstice, the shoemaker and his wife would leave a special feast for the elves, a plate of fresh bread, sweet fruit, and a cup of warm milk. The elves would come to visit, bringing magic and joy to their lives. And so, the shoemaker and his wife lived happily ever after, surrounded by their newfound success and the magic of the elves.